Welcome to Life and Living. I'm Joanna Gagis. In this first segment, we're going to talk to two women who understand firsthand the impact of the gift of life. These two women are Michele Dabal. Michele is a liver transplant recipient and a board member at the New Jersey Sharing Network Foundation, and Michele Brugger, who is a tissue transplant recipient and a volunteer at the New Jersey Sharing Network. There's a theme here, isn't there? It's the New Jersey Sharing Network. Now, both of you have very powerful stories, and I'm going to give you each a chance to share yours. Michele, how did you first come to be an organ recipient?
I had been running my own business. I was fairly tired, and we weren't sure why I was so tired, so I was getting blood tests, and one of those blood tests, the doctor was quite concerned, so as I'm driving back to my office, I get a phone call that tells me to turn around. I need to be admitted to the hospital. So I'm admitted, and a few days are going by, and I'm worrying about my business, not really knowing that I'm as sick as I am. And they say, we want to transfer you to a different hospital where they know livers, and I didn't really want to go. And I agreed to go, and basically I got transferred. I was having my breakfast apparently, and when they came in to check on me, they found me on the floor. I had had acute liver failure. So fast forward a couple days go by, I'm put in an induced coma. I have 24 hours to live. I'm lucky to, in the last 2 hours, get the perfect match liver, and I wake up to a doctor standing over me telling me I had a liver transplant, never knowing that this would even be possible.
First of all, you never knew you were sick.
No.
You never knew that the decision had been made from someone else to give up their loved one's organ, and you never knew that the decision had been made for you to receive it.
Correct.
All of this happened without your knowledge. Waking up to a situation like that, how does that impact you?
My husband was by my bedside, and the doctor was standing, and I still couldn't figure out what he had said. My mind instantly went to something had happened to my children, that it wasn't me that they were saying was in trouble. And then it took a bunch more hours before I realized, and the next day when I looked down and saw 52 staples holding me together, I realized that I truly was the one they were talking about.
How long before you realized the impact of someone else's decision to give the gift of life?
It happens over time. I mean, immediately you're realizing that, wow, I was that close to death, and I just cheated death from taking me. And then it takes time to go through what actually the steps were that happened and had to happen so perfectly for this gift of life to have been given to me. So it sinks in over time. It still sinks in. I'm going to have the chance to hopefully meet my donor's daughter in March, and this will be the first time in 10 years I've had any correspondence.
We're going to come back to that because, Michele, I want to give you a chance to share your story. It's a little bit different but equally powerful. Tell us what your experience was and what brought you to undergo the surgery that you had.
Sure. I had torn my ACL. I was in a martial arts class working out, and upper body went one way, lower body went the other, and my knee popped, and it took probably about a month and a half before the official diagnosis that it was a torn ACL. And I saw an orthopedic surgeon who, said, "Kid, you need to have your knee fixed. You won't ever be able to do martial arts again. Forget about running." And so he said, "I'd use cadaver tissue to fix your knee, and you'll be good as new. A little physical therapy, and you'll be back to your old self." But it was my first serious injury, so it was a little scary. I had twisted an ankle or jammed a finger, in different sports I'd been involved in, but nothing ever that serious. And I had the surgery, had about 6 months of really, really intense physical therapy, and I was back to myself, but never realized the gift of donation until about 7 years later, when I met folks from the Sharing Network.
When the doctor said to you, you're going to receive cadaver tissue, the bell didn't go off as to what that really meant.
Right.
How did you eventually understand what that had meant for you?
Well, my husband and I run a business in New Providence, which is where the Sharing Network is located, and they have a 5K every year, and it was their second 5K. We weren't able to participate in the first. So we had set up a team, and Jackie Lurea from the Sharing Network came to meet with me to get my team going and give me some tips on how to get that going. And she said, I just left another team where a young girl was playing soccer, and she got slide tackled and tore her ACL, and the hair on the back of my neck stood up. And I said, so wait a minute. I said, I'd torn my ACL. Does that mean I'm a tissue recipient? And she asked me a few questions, and she said, you sure are. And it was crazy, because you hear your doctor say cadaver tissue, but then you hear him talk about cutting and drilling bone, and you're hearing all these other scary things, and it doesn't sink in. And 7 years later it did. And like she said, it's over time where you really realize it and you become more and more appreciative and thankful for that final decision that somebody made to donate.
How different would your life have been if you hadn't received that donation?
I probably wouldn't be able to be running and doing martial arts and other activities that I'm involved in, because I really had a difficult time. My knee was really weak. I couldn't stand. I was a chemist at the time, and standing at my lab bench was difficult. My knee would give out. I had a hard time getting up and down stairs.
Quality of life would have been totally different.
Totally different, totally different.
Michele Dabal, you mentioned to us just a moment ago that you are going to meet with the daughter of the donor who gave you your liver. What do you feel going into that meeting?
I'm quite nervous. I'm very excited. I mean, I hope she feels it was a worthwhile decision.
And it was the daughter who made the decision?
Yes, that's what I've been told recently. I've gotten a little more information about the donor and her daughter, and I'll get the chance to give her a hug and personally thank her, I hope.
Well, the reason you're both here is not just your powerful stories, but the fact that you're both very outspoken about the New Jersey Sharing Network and the work that they're doing and about organ donation. I'm going to start with you, Michele. What is the message that you hope people take away when they hear your story?
I just hope that people realize that it's not just the major organs, it's not just the liver, it's not just the kidneys or the heart or the lungs, it's the tissues, things like that on an everyday basis people are receiving and not even realizing it, like myself. And it really does. It restores function and it restores quality of life. You know, without it, I don't know where I'd be. I don't know what I'd be able to do. Hopefully something, but you know, it's nice to know that I was able to get back to who I was.
And you feel that if people are willing to accept it, they should be willing to give it.
Yes.
Explain that.
Yes, if you're willing to say, oh, in the time of crisis, to save my life as a donated organ, then I should be willing to donate to someone else as well. So that is my goal, is that people need to understand that this is a medical procedure that's very successful. It's very important. There's a tremendous critical shortage of organs. We all need to be on board to share the gift of life when our time is ended here.
And before we leave, you are on Team Liberty.
Yes.
You compete at the Transplant Games of America, and I know you're very proud to tell us about some medals that you've won.
Yes, I've had the opportunity actually to use sports as my way of healing. So I play tennis, table tennis, basketball, and any other event someone asks me to participate in, and this medal will go to my donor's daughter to show my gratitude.
And I have a feeling we've got someone else who could be a good teammate on Team Liberty over here. And Michele's sitting right next to you. You've got two very strong women here who are sharing the good word of organ and tissue donation. It's really the gift of life. And I want to thank you both for bringing that message to our viewers here.
Thank you very, very much.
Thanks for having us.
Yes.
Don't go anywhere, because there's more Life and Living coming up right after this.
Life and Living has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of Life and Living with Joanna Gagis has been provided by Wells Fargo, Qualcare Inc., Johnson & Johnson, County College of Morris, Cone Resnick, New Jersey Natural Gas, and by the law firm of Gibbons, P.C. Promotional support provided by NJ.com, Small News, Big News, True Jersey. And by NJ Biz, All Business, All New Jersey.